Where were you all last week?
Well, they want to see whether you really are closed.
They're trying to get in before everything closes tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. But unfortunately, freaking COVID, I'm closed.
Just have to keep reminding them they can pick up, hopefully.
That's what I said. I literally put on the door saying, because of COVID, we're closed, but we will offer curbside.
Good.
But I get it. I did the same thing. I went to Home Depot, got my wood this morning.
It must be so frustrating for you guys. This open and close and close and open.
You know what? It's really worse for we own a restaurant too, Capola's. That one's horrible. And I feel horrible for the hairdressers and like special services. At least as a retailer, I've been open a little bit and I can do curbside. They really don't have any resources you can't do curbside haircuts or waxing so those are the ones I feel for. Look, another customer.
Go chase those rotten customers away.
Literally, sorry, COVID can't come in.
Hey, everybody.
There we are. Hi.
And
Carrie, do we have any regrets from members? The only one I think I see missing is Elizabeth.
Hey, Dan, it's Ken. John Kenny won't be here. Councilor Kenny
Okay.
can't be.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
Dan, I'm not aware of anyone else. The agenda was sent by Karen Ohm.
Okay.
Karen will be taking over the committee for the time being.
All right.
I'm kind of juggling a lot, being sort of kind of acting clerk, sort of still deputy clerk interim. So Stephanie, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing the minutes today. And I'm just here to attend if there's any procedural issues that I need to advise.
I didn't have any, but I didn't have any regrets from Karen. So I'm not sure if there are any, but I don't think there are.
Okay. As a member roll call, I'm just trying to see all the people on the screen. I've got Marcia, Tony, Penny, Tanya, and Jean and myself. Is that it for voting members? I think we have a quorum.
Yes, you
I'm
do.
going to call the meeting to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda as distributed. Who would like to move that? Tanya, seconder. Tony, all in favor of the agenda as distributed? Great, Jean's got her hand up. Okay, that's passed. And we also had a look twice now at the minutes from the March 3rd meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, can I have a mover to adopt those minutes as distributed? Tony, thank you, and a seconder. Tanya, all in favor of the motions of the minutes as presented? Terrific. Does anyone, would anyone like to declare a conflict of interest on the agenda as proposed? I see none. We'll move forward. It looks like we might need some extra introductions, and I'm just trying to keep track. We've had a number of different staff step in as the clerk. I see a number of names on the big panel. Some I recognize, some I don't know. I believe, Fern, were you? Did you join the committee as a member? Fern?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I'm a
okay,
newbie. Yes.
Okay, so and anyone else sitting in today that's a new member? Okay, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself then, Fern?
Yeah, I worked for 30 some odd years and retired last June into this COVID. It's not what I expected from retirement. So I've got time on my hands and I've volunteered in a few things. Canada Games is one, and this one is second, and started golfing again a little more than I was doing when I was working and enjoying my granddaughters.
Terrific. Well, congratulations on the retirement and
Thank you.
welcome to the committee.
Thanks.
Oh, Elizabeth is here as well. Okay, great. So I think we have 100% of the committee. I'm not sure of the procedure. I haven't had this experience before. If anyone can help me out, Tony, you're a veteran of these types of things. We have some people sitting in. I'd been advised, I think that Brianne was going to be sitting in. Is introduction required for any of the others, or what do we do
No,
here?
they're basically unless they've put themselves on the agenda to speak, they're only observers.
Great.
They just might be seeing what we're doing with the dog park or whatever, you know.
Okay. Well, Brianne, I do recognize you, I believe, from our past days on the Canada 150 committee for Thorold. So nice to see you again. All right.
Nice to see you too, Dan.
First up, under committee business is an update on the Battle of Beaver Dams Park. And I'm looking at you, Curtis, if you can please bring us an update there.
Yeah, no problem. One thing to add, I think Greg just joined on to the call as well, which I believe he's a new committee member as well.
Greg.
Who is?
I believe so.
Yep, I did. I'm not sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Greg Capolero, and I'm a lifetime Thorold resident, and just appreciate everyone letting me join the committee.
Terrific. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Greg, thank you. Welcome aboard. Okay, so Battle of Beaver Dams Park. We've done the pre-qualifier for the construction portion of this, and I believe we're down to 3 pre-qualifications. So right now we're in the process of doing the final tender for that, for the construction. So we're hoping to start that project in May. It still has to go to council for final approval of the design or the bid award, but the intention is to start construction into May. So any questions about that? I think Marcia, I see your hand up over there.
Will the site plan be posted onto the city's website so the general public can see what the plan is if they were part of the when we had the meetings and we had all that pre-planning? Will you guys post it on our website for people to check out?
Yeah, my understanding is part of the grant application process, we have to post signs as well around the perimeter. But the information as far as the design goes is on our website currently. But again, there will be
Not the most easiest website to find stuff though.
Yeah, I got you. So there will be additional information put out there once we award the contract. There's simply going to be construction access, that sort of thing, restrictions around the area, which we will need to communicate. So there'll be additional information coming.
Will it
Okay.
affect any of the businesses around us or no? Is it just strictly in park?
It will be specific to the park. However, I do know that that park is used as a throughfare for walking. So there may be some influence on the traffic flow, but again, it's not that they can't get around it. It's just they may have to walk around it. So
Perfect. Okay.
okay. So again, I think we're hoping the construction is done by the end of the year. That's the intention here. So we're hoping to be done end of the year with some cleanup in the spring before the Canada Summer Games. Okay, so anytime you do a project like this, you sort of have a construction period, and then there's the warranty period where you have some cleanup items at the end. And over the course of the winter, there's going to be some washouts, that sort of thing that we're going to need to address and put back together, if you will. Okay, so that's where we're at with it. So hopefully, I'm hoping the first meeting in May for council is when this will go, April 20th. I'm not sure we can pull that off, but we'll see what we can do. But again, we're excited to get this going as quick as possible. It's going to look phenomenal. So, and that's essentially the update on that, which actually ties into the part B, I assume, is what this means, the park survey. So as a result of this, to ensure that we have the playground put in time so that we're not simply circling back and putting this playground in. We did a survey online, which probably many of you selected. I think we were somewhere around the neighborhood of 400 people, Steph, on that one.
Yeah, 450.
Which is pretty phenomenal for Thorold. Usually we get about 30. So we posted it out there. We put it out there excessively on social media, websites. We did email blasts. So it's paid off. We got 450, which is a very good turnout on that. So the option that was selected was the park and play design. I don't know if you have something there, Steph, you can throw up on the screen so you can sort of remind everybody.
Yep, 1 second. Oh, why isn't it showing up? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. Can everyone see it okay?
No.
Not yet. It's coming.
Not yet. Says I'm screen sharing.
It just says you're starting your screen sharing.
There we go.
Oh, there we
It's
are.
up.
Oh, we got it. Okay, good.
Okay, so this one won by a fairly large margin on this. So that's fine. It fits within the budget that was put out there. The only thing it doesn't include, which we're still negotiating, is the wheelchair swing, which was brought up by one of the counselors that they would like to see that amenity put into one of the playgrounds. So this is the playground that we're going to do it. But again, it's not really a off-the-shelf item. There's some challenges around it, code issues, which again, there is designs that meet code specifications. We're just trying to make sure that we get the right one that fits in with this. So and this essentially will be the playground that goes in. And then as well as part of this design, there'll be a side portion which will include a accessible wheelchair swing as well, okay? Which is being allowed for, just you don't see it in this rendering because it may not be this supplier that's providing that, that's all. Okay, any questions about that?
Does the scope of work include the turf as well?
It does, yes, it does. Okay, so that's essentially what you're going to see at the final product.
Any comments or questions on the report regarding the timelines and the playground selection? I can't see everyone right now, so you'll have to
I have
speak up.
I have a comment, Dan, if I may.
Go ahead, Jean. Yep.
Okay, the only thing is adult equipment, and I know we have the standards book provided to us, but I don't know what adult equipment means because my son is an adult and I'm an older adult, and the equipment that he would use and the equipment that I would use are like night and day. So I don't know what adult equipment means, but hopefully you guys do. And it would be nice if before you put the adult equipment that you went to see some of it in some other park, so you know that it's equipment that's usable. That's just a comment. I don't really need a reply. My other comment is, and I'm blue in the face on this one, I'm disappointed. I don't think there's anything that I've seen, and if I haven't seen it and it's there, I apologize. Anything with regards to making the park just user-friendly in the form of a walking park, like I've mentioned before, and exercise stations and stuff. I don't see any of that. It's the last time I'm going to mention it. It's obviously not a priority, which is disappointing because I think the park would be used more if those kind of minimal cost features were incorporated into the park. And my last comment is in our last age-friendly minute. There was a motion passed and the minutes are going to council, and Mayor Uccolini also on a previous attendance at one of our meetings indicated that he hoped that one or more of the benches in the park could be a chat bench. And there's a motion in our minutes that myself, Councillor Neal, and our accessibility coordinator or consultant or liaison person meet with Curtis at some time in the future to discuss the possibility of having one or more benches designated as a chat bench. So those are my 3 comments for all they're worth. And we'll be looking to contact you regarding the chat benches, Curtis.
Okay,
Great,
so
thank you, Jean. Anyone else? Tony, I see your hand.
Yeah, just in regards to the paths, Curtis, the design that was adopted by council, didn't that have looping pathways for extended walking?
yeah, Tony, it does. So essentially we formalized the pathways throughout. So essentially there is a loop through there with side pathways that tie into it, yes.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure if I remembered correctly, that's all.
Is there any indicators of distance walked?
No, so again, I think everybody just needs to be reminded what this park is. So this is a culturally historical park. And part of this design and approval of the grant was contingent on a few factors. So the province, the feds, they had to approve the overall design, as well as not sure that's somebody's mine, but anyway, sounds like a fax machine. But anyway, so
Can
basically
everybody
the
please
Mississaugan-
mute if you're not? Okay.
That's
there
right.
we go.
Yeah, the Mississaugans, we've been in contact with them too, reached out to them, so they had to approve this overall design too.
Curtis, am I correct in saying, because there was the survey that went out about the location of like the exercise equipment and that kind of stuff. And so that's still being in the works, but it's just looking at a more, I want to say sports oriented, fitness oriented park location.
Yeah, this isn't the appropriate location. It's kind of the same thing as I know everybody talked about a splash pad, and we're trying to be sensitive to the historical culture of this park, essentially what I'm trying to say. So the design was previously approved. We did the consultation period. There was no conversations around adult fitness equipment that was any substantial warranted in this conversation. It's designed based on the historical significance of this park. So not to say that we're not going to be looking at those elements as we upgrade other parks. Absolutely we will be, and you'll see that coming out, but this isn't necessarily the park for those elements. That's all. Okay, so any other questions around that? I think I answered all the concerns there, but
Fern, is that your hand up? Go ahead, unmute and go ahead.
For you, Curtis, does that playground include that walking path around the perimeter where that lady's jogging?
yes, it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does. Great, good.
Okay, it's a totally accessible park. You're going to be able to go through there fully accessible. The washrooms at the back of the band shell are going to be updated to be accessible. So you can walk through that park anywhere you want. There's no more low points in the path where you got pooling. It's all going to be addressed. There's armor stone seating with an accessible ramp going down to the seating elements. So it's going to be quite the fabulous park at the end of this. Okay.
This is a big one. Any other comments or questions while we're on it? Penny Palmer is asking, how about lighting at night?
Yeah, there's going to be some additional lighting elements throughout the park. Again, because it is a residential area around, we have to be sensitive to it. But there will be several light features added to it. But you're not going to walk through there and be, daylight, but you're going to have walking paths and there's going to be lit trails. Yes.
Okay, any more? Marcia, go ahead.
Curtis, in the design, is there places for power and things? So when we do have events there that we have outlets and things? I know that's been a problem in the past when we've done events at that park.
Yeah, Marcia, we have put a couple plugs in strategically. So we've thought about that. We've also thought about the future of this park in terms of Wi-Fi accessibility. So potential conduits at least as a minimum to put into the space so that we're not digging it up in 5 years from now when public Wi-Fi is a huge thing, right? So we're trying to be sensitive to that too. Okay.
Anyone else?
Hey, Dan, it's Ken. Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, please, of course.
Yeah, Curtis, so just with the benches, I like the idea of benches. I'm big on the chat benches with, you know, seniors, mental health, all that sort of thing. Where are we on those? I know we have a bench design, and we talked about, you know, donation of benches, or you could buy a bench and donate it. Where are we on actually getting those in?
Okay, so the chat benches is an easy fix. We're talking about a plaque on a bench, right? So it's not a redo of the bench. It's literally, instead of saying this bench is dedicated to so-and-so, we can make up these plaques and make them chat benches wherever we want at the end of the day. As far as the memorial bench policy goes, we're working on the park standard design protocol right now, which will be coming to council hopefully in the next month for your endorsement. But if anybody's looking to donate a bench to that park, that can be done. We have a donation policy, which we can do that through the finance department.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, you know, Gene, that we're on track to get something in there. And I know some of the benches that have been put out there, there's the mental health benches that are yellow. And I don't know how that goes in the design of our park, but that stands out, that people know, you know, if you're sitting here, come and talk type of thing. So I really like the chat bench idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. So as Curtis was saying, I'm not by no means an expert in this area of parks, but types of parks, and it's tough for any one park to be everything for everybody. I think it's exciting that we're at this stage with really the city's flagship park adjacent to the recently revitalized downtown business area. And side by side, it's a very, very attractive and useful amenity for citizens and visitors alike. And it's so important. I'm just going to take another minute, Curtis, if you wouldn't mind just running down quickly those key dates again in terms of the development of the parks, so that we're all clear on what the schedule is for now.
Yeah, so it's going to go to council hopefully early May, and then construction will start in June. And then the intent is to be done by the end of the year, so December, and then some cleanup items in the spring.
Very exciting. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to move along to item C on parks, and this one is the dog park. And I think, Curtis, that's you again, please.
Oh yes, the dog park. Okay, so the survey is out right now. Right now, let me pull up the numbers. We have, that survey has been out for a couple of weeks. 670 people have selected their choice. And again, the survey is set up so that each IP address, you can essentially have one vote. So you can have one vote on your phone, one vote on your computer, one vote on your tablet, but at some point you're going to run out of devices to vote on. So we're trying to get it as accurate as we can. There's sort of loopholes here and there, and we understand that, but at the end of the day, 670 votes is a telling story. It closes on Friday, correct, Stephanie? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, she's nodding her head yes. So Friday it closes. So if there's anybody else that wants to throw some more information in there, we've heard the concerns. We understand the challenges around the Beaver Dams Village. We're not oblivious to it. We see it, we get it. So just on the selection criteria, it's not going to be simply, well, that park won by votes. We are going to factor in the comments that have been made as well as the width of the road, the essential area of the park that we're proposing. So we're not oblivious to it. And I've heard the comments that, you know, what are we thinking? I get it. It's not that we're simply just going to drop it into Beaver Dams Village because we can. We're going to take the comments into consideration. Again, likely this will probably ultimately go to council for their final decision because it is such a hot topic and we're aware of that. And they'll have all the comments at their fingertips. Okay, so That one, it closes Friday, so it won't be on the 20th because that'll be too close, but hopefully early May again. And that'll be a interesting council night, I'm sure.
Okay, so just to summarize that, the key point is that the fan voting ends Friday.
You got it.
That's not the only determining factor. It's a weighted factor in the decision, and the expert staff with their resources will move this through the process going forward from there. So thank you to everyone who's participated in both of these key surveys. And we know that not only did many of the people here today around the table participate in the survey, but you promoted it, and that's why the numbers were more than 30.
Kidding. Yes, again, to just reiterate that, thank you, everyone. I saw a lot of you send it out social media. I think that really helped, and it drove the numbers up greatly, which is fantastic. So the numbers we're getting are phenomenal, so it's good.
Great example of the power of citizen engagement, and I thank you for putting it out unbiased, just soliciting input so that we can get to the best decision in the end. Anyone else have questions or comments regarding the dog park survey and the process for determining? Penny, you've got something? Hold on there, sorry. Okay, so Penny is saying on the chat, I know we discussed the area north of the trail at Lock 7 for skateboarding. Would a dog park ever be considered in the future? You mean for that area? Okay.
Is that the area off of St. David's Road? Yeah, she's nodding her head, yes. So I think the challenge that we have there again is going to be the volume of traffic. There's a lot of bush clearing that would be required. We did look at that space, and again, we've got a lot of residential that's already existing there. So if you own a house, which I'm sure many of you do, you sort of look at it in terms of, if the city was come along and say, we're going to put a dog park in your backyard, some of you might like it, some of you might not. So that's where we're trying to be sensitive to it, to say, we get that ideally a dog park should be downtown. But again, if you've bought a house and you don't like dogs, it's pretty difficult for me to put a dog park in your backyard. And that was one of the criteria where, Rolling Meadows, for example, it's just outside that housing area where that would be decent. Allenberg, the thought process was, again, we have a lot of dog schools that use that building. There's a couple houses in there, but it's sort of far enough away that I think we're okay. And then the Beaver Dams Village, it's a beautiful spot, but again, loud and clear, we've heard the message, so we're aware of it, but it's a beautiful spot, and it's far enough away from most houses that it was considered. But again, we're going to look at all the comments and take the feedback, but additional locations, that may be an option that council wants to look at as well, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Any more comments or questions before this goes into our minutes and on to council?
Yeah, I've got my hand up here. Thank you, Curtis. I probably already know the answer to this question, but just to have it confirmed, was Mel Swart not considered as a potential dog park location because its purpose or mandate as a conservation area? Is that it?
Yes and no. I think Mel Swart Park's a beautiful park. It's established. It's a well-known walking park, where I think a dog park in that space, for me, it wasn't something that really sat well with me, to take a big chunk of that beautiful naturalized park and put a dog park in there. But again, at the end of the day, when it goes to council, if that's something council wants us to consider, I'm happy to look at it. But again, we're trying to find an area that we can take and that's not necessarily established, that we can address and put a new amenity in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks. I was just kind of curious. A lot of people use it as an unofficial dog park right now. So that made me wonder that as well.
It's an official tick park, that I know, but
yeah,
it's hard to avoid. Last call on this item? Anyone? Great. Okay, next on the agenda is to move into roundtable, but there's something I believe scheduled for roundtable. And again, I'm going to look to you, Curtis, while you're hot to introduce that item regarding the emerging issue with public washrooms in Port Robinson.
Yeah, okay. So as many of you are aware, as part of the capital budget process, council put forward a proposal or request of staff to look at putting a washroom in the Port Robinson Park area. Okay, so again, some concerns have been raised about that. And again, council has seen this correspondence, but again, I just wanted to talk about it in this committee and get your feedback. So, and looking for some direction or comments from this group, being the Parks and Rec Committee, that again, that's sort of what you're here for. We want your feedback and appreciate your comments on this, on what you guys think we should do to move forward and look into this. So some of the questions and concerns that have come up is, again, how did this become a priority over other elements? Okay, so and again, that's always a question, right? Why are we selecting something over another item? Again, that's what council's for. So council does have that authority to make those decisions and give guidance to staff on what they would like to see become a priority. So essentially, that's where that came from. So, but again, if we want to talk about other issues such as the park entrance conditions, speed bumps in the parking lot, there's no sidewalks in around the park, the road speeds, existing lot conditions, increased traffic, and additional signage such as children playing. Like, those are all factors that, again, they're valid concerns and challenges that, yeah, we do need to be aware of and look at, which weren't necessarily addressed as part of the capital project that was proposed. So, but again, for a little bit of context on this, right now in the Port Robinson Park, we do add a portable washroom at that location in the summertime, from typically, I'm going to call it May till September, when the temperature starts changing. So there is a splash pad there, and there's a playground, a half basketball court, and even a baseball diamond that we've started renting out recently once again. So there is a need for a washroom there. I think the conversation is around, does it need to be a permanent structure? Or can it remain as a portable washroom structure? Okay, so some of these elements, again, I'm not really sure that putting a permanent structure there versus having a temporary structure is going to change things such as increased traffic flow, speed bumps in the parking lot. I'm not sure really that is a direct correlation between a permanent washroom versus a porta potty, at least not for those months. And the washrooms, just so everybody understands, the washrooms are locked unless it's the summertime. And basically what happens is in the morning, the students go around, they clean them and unlock them for the day. The students on the afternoon shift go around, they clean them and they lock them at night. Okay, so we're sort of hitting them twice. They're not open overnight. They're simply there for daytime use, basically dawn till dusk, okay? So, and then, like I said, in the winter months, the washroom would typically be removed like it is right now. So again, those are some of the concerns. Geographical location of the washroom, where we can put it in the park. Again, I'll share my screen here to show you what the thought process was. 1 second. Okay, let me know when you guys can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is essentially Port Robinson Park. You see the ball diamond on the left there, that's the gray at the top over there. And then you see the splash pad sort of down the bottom of the middle of the screen, the basketball court. There is actually a gazebo on the left side of the parking area now. So the proposed location that would be best suited for us in terms of accessibility to the hydro and the existing sewer and water is where the red square is located here by the entrance to the parking lot. So we would tie into the existing roadway, where that's where the water and sewer is, and there's also additional hydro lines up there which we could utilize as well. Part of the proposal right now is a washroom structure in that location. The blue is representing a sidewalk because there is a bit of a grade there, and we know that. So this would essentially tie into the gazebo and the parking lot area, so it would be accessible. Okay, so again, the ball diamond's used, I'm gonna say probably every Saturday, Sunday type thing. We're trying to get it a little busier out there. Again, we've got a couple local businesses that are benefiting immensely from the use of that park, which is great to see. And it's a beautiful little area. So again, but it's one of those tucked away corners, same as Beaver Dams Village, where again, it's secluded and a lot of people have moved there for that reason. And it's gotten eco wildlife habitat out there that's quite unique as well, which we've discovered. And the question is, will this be an interruption to this? Is this going to cause additional foot traffic? Do we think we're going to get people coming in just to use the washroom because it's there? But again, the washroom was there, but now it's just formalized. So those are some of the concerns that have been raised. Okay. So made some notes here. So again, that's sort of what the concept is right now, but in terms of giving council additional feedback on this, and is this the right thing to do? That's where I'm looking to you guys to say, hey, should we be putting a survey out there to talk to the residents and find out specifically what they'd like to see? Because there is a couple groups out there. Port Robinson Proud is one of the predominant groups out there that has a lot of people that talk with them and socialize with them. And there's also the Port Robinson Committee of Council, which is for the community center. Between those two groups, they do touch a lot of the people out there. Should we be looking at throwing this out to them in a survey? It circulated this. I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding up and down.
Curtis,
Go
it's
ahead,
Ken.
go ahead, Tony.
Oh, sorry, go.
I believe Tanya had her hand up first.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Thanks, Tony. A couple of things. I always think sending out a survey for the general public of a city is, I don't know, to me, never a bad thing. Getting that feedback, especially, it seems like we're getting a good amount of feedback from people right now for that, which is great. And then just my own kind of personal feedback, I haven't used that park often. One of the reasons is distance. I don't know that adding a washroom would change my mind among those things. I think if having the ball diamond and everything there and being used more often, I don't honestly feel like adding a permanent washroom would change the flow of traffic significantly. The more the use of those things would, it might a little bit more as people discover that it has a splash pad and maybe it's not quite so busy as some of the other more known areas. But I think that would happen more word of mouth because people are there for other things like the ball games and things like that. And as much as I myself like Thorold because it's a little bit smaller and more hometown feeling than say St. Catharines or even Niagara Falls, the reality is our community is going to be growing whether we like it or not. And having infrastructure in there to make it accessible and usable by members of our community, I think is not a bad thing. As a parent who has recently gone through the things like potty training and diapers and all that kind of stuff, having a washroom is one of the main things that I look for if I'm going to a park, and having parents who are seniors and starting to have issues, and even as like a woman who is pregnant and dealing with things after pregnancy, like having accessible washrooms, I think has been a really big thing that COVID has brought to light that it's needed. I've seen so many children like squatting behind bushes in some of the parks that it's honestly completely a ridiculous thing. So I really advocate for more public washrooms when that's a possibility. And it certainly seems like this would be a good opportunity for that, especially considering there's a splash pad there. Like changing, and like I know you don't have to change, but like people don't necessarily want to like drive home in their wet bathing suits either. Like having some area where that's a possibility, I think, is really important.
So
Okay,
just,
thanks, Tanya. I have Tony, and then I have a chat comment from Penny. I'll get speaking order going.
before we
Go ahead,
jump
Tony.
into Tony, guys, just so you see what's on your screen here, this is sort of the idea, the concept that we're proposing for that park. And it's a single stall, fully accessible washroom, okay? So anyways, have a look at that. I'll stop sharing my screen so Dan can see the people with their hands up, but that's it.
Thanks, Curtis.
I can certainly see why some people would want one there, because one is, of course, for the accessibility. My concern is how many people there really want one, and how much of it is it a case. There's a tendency up there to want things just because everybody's else has got one and they're being left out again. The location that you've got for the washroom is a concern. I don't know how many of you remember, but there used to be a reconstructed Bishop Fuller House there at the corner of the park. And particularly the gentleman at the corner wanted that thing out of there because it was basically you've got a building, you've got traffic zipping in off of the road there, and believe me, they really move. I sat at his house one afternoon and watched them. The playground and the splash pad would be screened from the view of the driver. Not that I'm sure they're looking in anyways, but they really whip in off of that road there. It's quite unbelievable how fast they're moving, especially considering it's a 50 zone. But yeah, I can certainly see wanting washrooms there. There, of course, is always the security aspect whenever you have a washroom too. That used to be the concern always given for why the washrooms weren't open at Battle of Beaver Dams Park when there was no event going on in there. Is who's going to watch to make sure kids aren't being followed into the washroom by somebody, you know? Of course, a portable isn't any better for that for security. I would say they probably need a washroom, but I would recommend that it possibly be on the other side of the playground where it's not screening the visibility of the play area. That's my main concern there. That was a legitimate concern before when the Bishop Fuller House was there, and I think that's still a concern at this point, that you don't want anything blocking the view of drivers coming in off of that roadway. Those kids don't necessarily pay any attention to where they're going. They just run out of the playground, and you know. That's really my only concern with the project, is that it should probably be on the other side, even if it takes a little more piping and wiring.
Hey, thanks, Tony. I'm going to read Penny's comment now. Hi, Curtis. I think a washroom is important for future revenue, but it may be a NIMBY situation for the neighborhood. There really aren't that many places to eat or use in that community. I think that comment was to everyone, so you could take it verbatim off the chat.
It'll be popular with the cyclists.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't know if you can hear me because my speaker doesn't always work. But I was going to say, I agree with what was said earlier, I think a washroom is really important for use in Niagara, like for all parks. Every park should have a washroom for people who are cycling or day tripping. I know with COVID especially, to try and find a washroom, it really serves as an example of we can't go through this all the time. And I agree with what Tanya had to say. So that's all. I'll sign off.
Okay, Penny, thank you. Anyone else? Marcia's got your hand up? There it is. Go ahead.
So I'm with the ladies as a person and a mom who's actually used this park. I actually had to use the porta potties in a boot when I broke my ankle. They are not accessible. Trust me, those Johnny on the spots are not accessible. And I think as a city, we should continue to try to move towards everything being accessible. And they're not. A porta potty limits who can use it. I know with the kids, I'd always have to, whenever you go in, you have to hold them in. It's a hard one with the porta potties. I have used this park. I was from Port Robinson originally, so I know of the park. But I do think it's something that's needed, and I agree. When you're trying to find, especially during COVID, trying to find washrooms, it's hard nowadays, especially with restaurants closed and things like that, and you have little kids in the car. We can't run if we're at this park and my son has to use the washroom. Now they're older, but there's not a Tim Hortons that I can run to get him to a washroom. We would have to use the bush, right? So it'd be nice, I think it'd be nice to actually have it where you go in, and I like what you guys have, the one stall, and have the change table in there so we can change our kids while they're at the splash pad, going from the water diapers to regular diapers. All those little things are nice lifestyle things that I think are important.
Okay, Fern, go ahead.
Yes, I'm in favor for the washroom.
Can you guys give me 1 second? I'm gonna get rid of these guys. Hold on.
And
Sorry.
actually, Ken, you
I'm
better
doing
watch it.
Zoom
We hear
while I
we hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Ken? Yeah, we were hearing you. Go ahead, Fern.
Okay, I'm in favor of the bathroom at the park. I agree with Tony. I kind of weary about that location with drivers coming in and out and blocking that play area. I think it should be moved, like Tony said. And the only other thing I would maybe suggest is because it's both female, male, is there any way of squeezing in a urinal? And that's about all my comment. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Fern. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I had my hand up. It's Ken.
Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, I as a city, we have to become compliant by, Curtis, I always get this wrong, 2023. And the sidewalk, there's been an issue for people who have called me over the years. So the sidewalk takes care of it, but I like the other side, even if it costs a little extra. I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was showing respect to Port and to let them know, we're thinking of them too, and not just everywhere else. But I'm not the end all be all. I don't live out there. So I think a survey would be a great idea as a start to see if this is wanted or not wanted. But I mean, a porta potty to me just doesn't cut it, and it probably won't legally cut it within, a couple of years. So those are my 2 cents, but I think a survey would be a great idea.
Anyone else? Thanks, Ken.
I was just hoping to address one of the things first, like I hadn't thought of the cars going quickly through there because it kind of looks like a turn. So yeah, like moving it a little bit over, it would be kind of in between the baseball diamond and the other. I kind of feel like if as a city we're renting things out, like Port Robinson is not isolated, but again, like it doesn't have it doesn't have the Tim Hortons like the other lady said. And so you can't just like, I would have to literally go home in order to take anyone to the washroom, whether it's kids or an adult needing to go to the washroom. So I do feel like a washroom of some sort is definitely needed. But addressing the safety concerns about predators and children, I've got to say that in today's society, those are definitely problems that you can be concerned of. But as a parent, I'm actually probably more concerned about the digital predation of my children. So having to have my children change or go to the washroom in public when people have phones and can take videos and pictures and everything is probably a larger concern that occurs more often based on information that I've had from some friends in the police force, and that you don't even know has necessarily occurred. But the other thing, as a parent, especially with young kids and strollers, having that nice big one stall thing allows me to take my kids in with me if I have to go for the washroom. For example, it's an extremely stressful situation of if you have to leave your child outside a bathroom or a porta potty while you go inside yourself, for example, especially if they're like a baby in a stroller, like that's just not something you're going to want to do. So I think those are things that people, if they don't have kids, they don't, or it's been a while since they've had kids, it's working your way in with strollers or wheelchairs. Those things just aren't doable. So I do think accessible for multiple reasons is really important.
Thanks, Tanya. Anyone else? I think we've heard from most of the committee. I'm just going to add a couple of comments. Well, a comment and a question. It was touched on, but this is near the east side launch for the Bridget. I'm not sure exactly how close, if that's a factor or not. And it's also part of the little link between Bridget and the Chippewa Port Robinson cycling trail. It goes, if not right by there, it's near there. If those are factors in the decision, I'm just putting it out for context. And my understanding is that there's a portable there for the summer now. So it might be interesting to do a quick analysis of the cost of renting and servicing a portable versus installing and maintaining a permanent. So what would you could pretty quickly come up with a payback time.
There is no
period.
payback, Dan. It's not even close.
It's not what?
It's not close. The cost of a portable washroom is insignificant compared to building
okay.
structure, but at the end of the day, it's more the convenience of it,
Okay.
and what that community wants to see out there at the end of the day.
All right.
Yeah.
So last call
I
just
have
came
one
to us late. Go ahead, Tanya. You got your hand. Go ahead.
Sorry, just the comment in the chat area just reminded me, I think there is the change table there. It's something to consider whether having an accessible change table, so one that can actually hold like a grown adult for those, because there is a splash pad there for those who have special needs. I know I have a few friends with older children with special needs, and they can't do a lot of things because they actually travel really long distances to try and find washrooms with adults supported change tables, because they can be used both for infants as well as the children with special needs, just as a thought.
Tanya, it would have both. The intention
okay.
would have both. That would be
amazing.
Dan, it's Jean.
Okay, Jean, go ahead.
I think it is imperative that the people of Port Robinson be consulted on this because it affects them the most. And you've got easy avenues to either do a survey and or do a public information session in Port Robinson. And if you don't do something like that and they don't like what's going on, you'll hear from them later. So you might also get input at the beginning instead of at the end. And I think input from Port Robinson people who are most affected should be considered in any decision on this matter. That's my 2 cents.
Tony?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what wasn't a counselor going to do this as a project? Whatever happened to that? Like in McAdam Park?
So yeah, Tony, you're correct. That did come up. There's challenges with that because anytime you have volunteers working on a site like this, the WSIB becomes a factor. There's a bunch of liability challenges with that. And then there's cost overruns, which there was on the other site as well. So this would be a contract price to simply install it with a certified contractor with full WSIB coverage, meeting all code compliance.
Okay, no, just curious.
All right, anyone else? Okay, I think we heard from Stephanie. You have your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. If there's anything else pertaining to the park, we can keep discussing. I just have another thing I just have to bring up in the round table. I'll let everyone else speak first if anybody else has anything.
Okay, I was just going to wrap that item up and then you're first up with roundtable then. Okay. So there you have it. This was, I don't know if you, it sounds like some of you in the committee had some previous knowledge of this situation. It was just brought to my attention last week, so I had no real frame of reference. Thank you for your input. If anything there, I'd say Ken and Curtis, there seemed to be a consensus towards seeing the value in it there, but some significant concerns about getting further public input one way or the other. That's how I would summarize the discussion briefly. With that, I'm going to tee it up for Stephanie to lead off the roundtable.
Thanks. So I just have a last minute thing to add for the roundtable that I was hoping we could discuss here today. It's really quick. I realize that we're almost at our time, so I'll be brief. So as you may or may not be aware, we discussed at our last meeting, just to give some people context, the upcoming needs of what our pool and aquatic programming will look like this summer. So specifically, I mentioned last time that one of the main challenges we're going to have to overcome is recertifying and certifying staff, as well as training people to be at the pool and to be running and operating the pool, because there are very specific certifications that come with working at a pool. So part of the challenge that us, as well as the rest of the region, is running into are many uncertified lifeguards, because it's been over a year and a lot of people haven't been able to do courses, or they haven't been able to even be in a pool realistically. So what I would like to do in this committee today is to have a motion to pass a new set of fees so that we can run our own certification programs before the pool opens, so that we can recertify our guards and have a full staff on hand at our own facility to move forward with the summer. And then also I've added advanced aquatic courses and fees for that as well, so that we can start to train our own staff and our own Thorold residents. So hopefully we can start bringing in, see Tanya. Hopefully we can start training some of our own local kids and really get them engaged at the pool, because we've never done that before. And so that's something I'd like to do, because after this year, there's going to be a huge shortage of aquatic staff and lifeguards. So I'll share the fee price with you right now, just so you guys can see it. Sorry, I have such a hard time with this. I'm gonna have to do it on my Excel spreadsheet, so I do apologize. I had a spreadsheet open, but anyways, can everybody see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the top part here that I'm pointing to, it's just the average rates for these courses across the region. I've kept ours a little bit lower on average. There are a lot of factors that come into play with these rates. You know, location, not-for-profit versus profit organization versus municipal organization. This is the rates across all of aquatics and all of Niagara. So just to give you some context, on the very left-hand side, those are all the courses that we want to start running. And then down low in the blue are all of the proposed fees that I've put for Thorold. So on average, they're a little bit lower than across the region. Again, that has to do with a lot of factors, like all the different types of organizations we have. To give some context, they're pretty on par with Welland. So we're about 10% lower than Welland at these rates. And with those rates, just so you guys have some context as well, with all of the costs involved, we would still have a profit. So there are 3 rates that I want to propose. There's a regular rate for non-residents. There's going to be a Thorold resident rate to try and incentivize our local kids to get involved and get at the pool. And There's going to be a thorough staff rate because, like I said, we have a lot of staff that we need to certify and recertify. So that is an incentive for them to kind of go through us and train with us. But it's also a little bit of a lower cost because they do ultimately have to have those certifications to work for us. So it doesn't seem fair to charge them the full price, but then also expect them to have it for their job. So anyways, these are the fees that I would like to put into motion to pass for this summer. If anybody has any questions, they're welcome to ask, or if any comments. Marcia,
I can only see Tony. Okay. Oh, sorry. You see Marcia? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing it for a second so we can see everyone. Sorry, go ahead, Marcia.
So I know what we had to do for a couple of the youth sports is, and you guys might want to incorporate it too, to keep your lifeguards, is we started doing things where we have, our coaches also have to get paid, obviously, for hockey and baseball, take the courses. But what we initiated was if they took the course after 2 years of coaching, so it could be after 2 years of lifeguarding with you, that they are reimbursed their certification fee. It encourages them to stay with you longer, and knowing that they will be able to get their money back from their certification after 2 years of employment with the city is probably a good, because we found it had great success. Like a lot of people were like, okay, I'll coach another year because I get my $100 back. But it could be something you guys might want to look into for retention of your lifeguards. Just saying, it really was a big difference, and it changed people's mindset, because then they looked at it as, hey, I'll stay for another year to get my money. So just a suggestion. I just know retention's always hard, especially with kids. If they're being the lifeguards, you know, like they're teenagers, they get distracted. I have one. But just a suggestion. I know it worked for us for some of the youth sports that we have here in Thorold.
And it looks like you had that picked up, Stephanie, that idea with the no cost recertification for staff.
So for National Lifeguard, it just says NA, and that's because in order for them to get hired in the first place, they have to have it. So it wouldn't make sense for us to have that fee.
Oh, okay.
It would be a minimal cost. And just for some context, pretty much everywhere does, not many places that compensate in Niagara for their staff. Some do. It's a difficult thing. I think that's definitely something we could look into for the future, but it would be something we'd have to put forward into a different year for budget in order to consider, because we have to recoup our costs for this year, if that makes sense.
All right, Tony.
I just like to move I would just like to move the new fee structure as presented by Stephanie.
So I have Tony as a mover. Any other questions or comments? Elizabeth?
Sorry, just had to get unmuted. So thanks, Stephanie, for bringing this to us. I think it's a great idea to try to train our own lifeguards here in Thorold. I was just thinking that like those costs are quite high and might present a financial barrier for a teenager or university student. Is there a way to, I don't know, have a sliding scale or fees or something like that, just to reduce the barrier to entry?
I completely agree with you. Lifeguarding fees are high, costs are high. And I think that's why, you know, when I was a lifeguard back in the day, I'm still a lifeguard, but when I started back in the day, everybody wanted to be a lifeguard because it was the cool thing to do. But I think in the last few years, the costs have really been a deterrent for people. And I think kids just aren't as interested as becoming certified. That being said, there are some programs out there. The YMCA was one of them that offered some free training. I think it was through Meridian Bank. So there are some partnership opportunities out there that we could look into. But there are costs associated with running the courses. There's the instructor time. We actually have to pay the Life Saving Society an examination fee for each person that we certify. And then we also have to pay for their books and their toolkit, essentially, for becoming whatever certification course they're going to. So all of those do have costs associated with them that we do need to look at recouping. So we could definitely look at seeing if there's any partnership programs out there. I'm guessing post-COVID will be a really good time to kind of see if there's anybody who wants to partner to run these courses to get kids more involved. But yeah, there are costs associated with the courses, which is why they are so high. And right now we don't really have a way to eliminate those barriers, but we can definitely look into that. That's something important to note.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just myself. I will be happy to second the motion. I'm super excited as a former lifeguard in Thorold that we would actually have these as certifications in-house. I would have absolutely loved that at the time. There is a high cost, which has been a deterrent, but the pro to it, and it's something to always tell anybody you know, is that you usually get paid more than your student minimum wage. You usually get paid more than than minimum wage as a lifeguard. It was a fantastic summer job. So you, generally speaking, especially if you work full year as opposed to just the summer, you make up that recertification cost plus some when you compare it to a student minimum wage job, which is what you often get as a teenager. So that is one thing. I think it's an excellent, awesome idea that we're going to be doing it now, because I think we'll get a lot of people from outside organizations, also like people who aren't necessarily planning on working for Thorold, but maybe they will then too. But like, there's a lot of people going to be looking to try and recertify for the summer. So it's a really great opportunity, I think, to like kind of make a bit of money on that program and let other people know that we have such an excellent aquatic facility available, because a lot of people don't realize that, even within the world. Yeah, I'll second the motion.
There's the second on the motion. All in favor of the motion?
I have one comment, Dan.
Go ahead, Jean.
I think this is a great initiative. However, like a lot of things in that pool, it's the best kept secret in town. If you don't advertise and you don't get the information out to target groups, all of this is numbers on a piece of paper. And I think it's important that for this recruiting and for also some of the other programs that we have at the pool, you come up with some kind of information, advertising, whether it's paid or non-paid campaign, to tell people that all of this is available at that pool.
All right. All in favor of the motion? The proposed fees. I see all hands up. Jean, are you in favor? Okay, any opposed? Passes. It looks like it's unanimous. Thanks very much, Stephanie. And now we have run past our usual time, and I'm a bit on the clock. I can give it a few more minutes. If I have to excuse myself, I'll turn it over to Tony to wrap it up. But for the rest of the roundtable, rather than necessarily going to anyone, I'm just going to leave it voluntary. And if anyone would like to announce or say something, show your hand, and we got time for a couple. Wow, I think we covered everything we need to cover. That was a great meeting. Thanks everyone. We had I think 100% attendance from the committee. We've got 2 new fresh committee members. Again, welcome to Greg and Fern, and thank you to the citizens at large who took the time to chime in today for our committee. And I want to thank our council rep as well, and our staff city staff who I think you realize, despite the fact that there isn't a lot current operational going on, they're working hard. They're working real hard on a lot of really key initiatives that are moving the recreation plane forward for our community as we're growing and getting ready. So thanks to our staff in the recreation department, and also the rotating clerk's office for giving us that much needed support on the administrative side.
So,
really appreciate it all. I know we're getting a not great announcement here probably as we speak.
It's just coming up, so I'll keep this quick. So as a follow-up to the park washroom, guys, I will invite you, likely going to do a PIC on this. I think that's probably more important to get the feedback for a location of the washroom, which sounds like a big critical issue. And then I'll reach out to those community residents out there that did raise the concerns and invite them as well specifically, okay?
Yeah, that's more consistent with the usual procedure, isn't it?
Not necessarily, but on something like this where it looks like it could be contentious, Dan, I think it's important to get the feedback from the community appropriately. And then you hear both sides and make sure everybody understands why we made the decision that's being made at the end of the day. So I think it's important. So I'll reach out to like I said, this is Port Robinson Proud and the Committee of Council for the Port Robinson Community Center. And then we'll post something on the website, and likely even maybe once this is done, this whole shutdown, lockdown thing is done, we'll have a meeting in the park or something like that, ideally to walk through it so everybody understands it, but we'll see what's available.
All right. Last call before we adjourn. Anyone? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Tanya, thanks very much. We're done for today. Thanks very much, and we'll be in touch, if not before the May meeting. Take care.